What's going on, Lions fans? Welcome to the Pride of Detroit. Whoa, YouTube channel, not podcast, because I was like this close.
Hey, listen, bro. I don't know how you keep them so clean as you do. You know what I'm saying?
All right, hold on. Let me go ahead. What's going on, Lions fans? Welcome to the Pride of Detroit YouTube channel. My name is Miko, and I'm joined once again by my guy Morgan Cannon, and this is your go-to place for all things Lions related. That includes news, updates, analysis, and so much more. Morgan, today we're going to be getting into our first film study of the 2025-2026 season. Technically, I mean, it's still technically preseason, it's still technically off season, but this is something that Morgan and I typically do pretty often throughout the regular season. And so this is the first time we're going to do it now in the preseason, taking a look at four of the Lions' most recent draft picks as in the performance that they put on in the Lions' last preseason game against Atlanta Falcons. We're going to be taking a look at Tate Ratledge, Isaac TeSlaa, Tyreek Williams, as well as Ahmed Hassan. Each of them, I think, have shown some type of growth and improvement throughout the offseason. We didn't look at the first Hall of Fame game, which honestly only featured TeSlaa, Hassan, as well as Lovett as well. But I think this is another really good test for them, because I think being able to get Tate and Tyreek into the rotation and kind of getting them going up against at least twos in most cases, or I think Tate even got to go against a couple ones, is a good measuring stick to see how well they're adjusting to the NFL game.
Yeah, and you know what, bro? I get Dan Campbell's rationale for getting those guys out there against Atlanta, just because joint practice reps are good. You know, going against the Lions first team is really good, obviously, but at the same time, it's something a little different to put the jerseys on and be under the lights. So good to see those guys get some run. And we were talking about it before. I'm good. I don't need to see them. I can see Ahmed more, but the first three that we're going to talk through, I don't need to see them anymore in the preseason. They can get some reps in the joint practices, but other than that, I'm good. What about you?
I was going to say, I'm right there with you. I think the first three, I don't need to see them in another preseason game. Like you said, Ahmed definitely needs, some more reps. But honestly, I'd be perfectly fine if they start to tailor down his snaps as well, because I think what we're going to show even on tape here, is exactly who he is. And it's exactly where he is, in his development. But that doesn't mean that he couldn't use some additional work. Listen, injury bug has been very active throughout the NFL this offseason, and I just don't want to risk anything. So Let's go ahead and jump into the tape right here. And we're going to start first and foremost with Tate Ratledge. Morgan, I thought Tate showed a lot of really good things, both in pass pro as well as in run blocking. And this first rep that we're going to look at here is in pass pro. And one of the things that I was very critical of within our film study of him coming out of college was that sometimes he had a tendency to not find work. He would be in space and he would just kind of be reaching for things and not actively go out and try and block somebody. I think we started to see some growth of that even just in this one game against Atlanta.
Yeah, and some of it's just getting comfortable, right? And a new scheme. And, I know it's right guard to right guard, so people are like, oh, it should be the same. It's different from depending offense to offense, and I'll kind of just leave it at that. But he does a good job here of just being patient with this set, shoots those hands, and 99 kind of gets tripped up. But hey, you make it easy. If they're going to make the block easy for you, you go ahead and finish it. And he's able to sink his hips here and kind of just render 99 useless as far as the pass rush goes. So it was good to see this. He really didn't have many negative plays, to be honest. When you go through, I think he was out there for 24 snaps, but he's another one I'll be excited to hear about during these joint practices with Miami, because I would like to see him do this to some guys who are going to play in September and October, right, Miko?
Yeah, this play specifically kind of justified a lot of the highlights that the Lions have been putting out about him, where he's been taking one-on-ones against Tyreek Williams, and he does this really well, where he just like you said, he'll sink his hips, he'll anchor really well, and pretty much stonewall you to the point where it gives you a lot of confidence in with him being able to protect someone like Jared, who is going to need that extra time and is going to want to have that clean pocket. If you got a young guy in here that can show this type of strength and show this type of anchor, it makes you feel confident that the Lions offense can kind of resume the level of play that they had, in past seasons.
Yeah, because what do we talk about, Miko? You got to keep Jared Goff's front porch clean. All right. And that's the biggest thing that's going to make this offense tick. The running game will find a way, just because I trust Johnny Moe and his staff to implement something that's going to work and not really fix what's not broken, if you will. But this is another one that'll get the people excited. So you see the three technique here just lined up off of his outside shoulder, and you're going to see him. He just gets off the ball, man, and displaces his assignment. So this is what you want to see, because this is what creates those big cutback lanes for Jahmyr Gibbs, where he's able to take it to the second level, within a blink of an eye.
Yeah, and these are the things that he did really well at Georgia, right? Being able to get, like, once he gets his hands on guys, being able to drive them back, being able to create those lanes in the run game. And it's something that, like, I think really attracted him to the Lions. The only critique, Morgan, that I kind of have here is, like, I wish he would just kind of stay on this block a little bit longer, right? Continue to drive that guy back another 2 or 3 yards. Because like you said, you have somebody like Jahmyr Gibbs that's going to be running behind you, or even David Montgomery. Like, those guys are looking to pick up those extra yards. So if you can give them that extra space, that extra 2-3 yards, could be the difference of them finding a lane and breaking this for an even, like, for even more yards, basically.
Yeah, and there's room to improve there at the end, because they do a good job of this little that he gets a good kick out, whoever that is there, and he ends up burying his assignment. The right tackle, who's the right tackle?
Mason Miller.
Mason Miller, there we go. That's what it was. I wanted to say Miller. But yeah, you'd like Tate to keep on that block right there, because the defender's going to show you his back. You can just keep, that's not going to be a block in the back. Once he shows his back to you, that's something that not everybody teaches, but I get why the defender made that move, just because he was kind of getting blown off the ball there.
Yeah, defender might have gotten away with a little hands to the face as well, kind of like in the middle of that block where his hands kind of got up there. But again, that's just another reason why you want to continue to just drive that guy back. This next play, though, Morgan, I mean, this is like that country strong right here. That's kind of like the first thing that kind of came to mind off this snap, because it doesn't look like Tate barely moves, but he does a good job of just displacing 99. I feel like 99 had a rough game when it came down to lining up against Tate this week.
Yeah, and it's something that you saw on his tape when he was at Georgia too. Like, if he gets you in a phone booth, he's a big, strong kid, man. And I say kid, he's not that, he's a grown man. But you think about offensive linemen, they're going to get stronger. You're going to get stronger into your like mid to late 20s. So this is a young cat, and he's just throwing guys out of the club like this. So 99's lined up in the 3 technique. Tate knows where the ball is going, so he's like, okay, I'm just going to get my butt in between the defender and the ball carrier, and at the same time, I'm just going to kind of throw him down and get him out of the way. So look how easy that was for Craig to pick up. I don't know what this is. I am so bad at seeing 7-ish yards.
Like I was going to say 7-8 yards probably right there.
Yeah, really easy too, because look at that lane. Center climbs.
That's not even a lane. That's like a highway, right? When you have that much green grass.
Yeah. So good job. It's blocked well. And who is that? TeSlaa. See what I'm talking about? My dog. Let's watch him come over here. I didn't even notice that the first time. This blur coming in here,
taking out 23.
I'm glad
23 was on a mission that game. Hold on, let's pause for a second, because number 23 was out here delivering hits. So for TeSlaa to go out here and deliver one of his own, we're getting a little ahead of ourselves, because he was the next guy that we were going to talk about. But that's honestly, Tate's out here doing his job in the run game. TeSlaa's doing his as well.
Yeah, and that's funny. Y'all saw that. I didn't see that the first time live, just because I'm clipping that. I'm going through it. I'm also very sleep deprived. Yeah, I didn't really see it the first time, so that's hilarious. That's a nice transition. But overall, you like what you saw from Tate, and it shows me that he's going to be a ready-made starter to plug in there at right guard in this offense between Panay and Graham. I'm feeling good about that, and I'm feeling really good about Mahogany. I wish we could get some film on him, but yeah, jumping into TeSlaa, man, this is a beautiful. This got me pretty excited for a preseason game, Miko, because it's 4th down here. And talk to me about the setup, because this is just pretty footwork from somebody who didn't really run a crazy route tree at Arkansas, right?
Yeah, I mean, Lions go ahead here, and they flex, TeSlaa out to the bottom of the screen by himself. So you have 3 receivers at the top, 1 running back in the backfield. You got Hendon Hooker and shotgun, and this is basically like the ball's going in this direction. So it's a quick little like stutter and slant, right? So you're gonna see TeSlaa basically set up the corner to the outside. He's gonna take a couple steps to his outside, and as soon as he sees that corner have his hips basically facing that sideline, he's going to cut it underneath him. And this type of setup is textbook when you're talking about trying to create quick separation, because the minute this corner flips his hips that way, like and TeSlaa cuts it back inside, there's just too many motions that corner is going to have to make to be able to make up that space that's been created.
Yeah, it's for a reason too, right? Like TeSlaa is creating room for him to work back inside for this inbreaker with how he sets up his release. And it's a good design too. So the motion from Zylstra, you're going to see him come in motion here, and it's a further indicator that the Falcons are in man. He's essentially just going to run a clear out route here to create space, and I love this route from TeSlaa because this is the kind of like almost like they do with St. Brown, right? Like they have those chain mover routes where he kind of just bullies people at the top of the route. This is something that could absolutely be in TeSlaa's game just because of his body type. He's a big dude. Like I didn't notice that until I was at camp a couple weeks ago. That's a big man. So I love this route and tough. He created like a good 2 yards of separation there, makes it easy for Hooker. And this is something that Jared Goff can hit in his sleep. So that excites me with, thinking about him at the X when the Lions are like in 11 personnel, out there with J-Mo and St. Brown.
Well, yeah, because I mean, imagine a formation like this, Morgan, and instead of you having, Jackson Meeks, Shane Zylstra, and Ronnie Bell here, you're talking about Jamison Williams, Sam Laporta, and Amon-Ra St. Brown with maybe Jameer or David Montgomery in the slot, and they're going to put the rookie down here solo. Like a lot of attention's going to go to this way because especially if you have potentially, right, if you have JMO on the inside or even if you have Amon-Ra on the inside, you got to be worried about the flare screen here and these guys going out and blocking. No one, like, how much attention do you think teams are really going to pay to the third round rookie in these types of situations?
Yeah, and it talks about when this is what gets me thinking when Johnny Mo's talking about matchups, right? If you're devoting your two best corners, your aces, right, to JMO and Saint, then TeSlaa's getting, whoever it is at third or fourth, right, in theory.
Mm-hmm.
So it's another thing you can exploit. And he popped, man, a couple times. He had a couple penalties, fought through that, and then ended up making that conversion and then the touchdown right here. So Lions are essentially going to run a little pick play, right, Miko? So, but again, watch TeSlaa's feet. Just he's patient the way he sets this up. Boom, patient, creates enough rub, and then high points it, comes down and inbounds. That was a beautiful thing. And a good throw from Kyle Allen. We got to give Kyle Allen his flowers. That was a good ball.
No, absolutely. Listen, after the pick that he threw in the Hall of Fame game, this was absolutely well placed. TeSlaa, like you said, great feet, great separation, and then does what he does best, I think, which is high pointing the football, catching it with his hands, and really going up over the corners to be able to make this touchdown.
Yeah, and it makes it easy on your quarterback when you know that you just have to put it on the top shelf where only the big kids can get it. I love that. Makes it easy, and it's another, if he can continue to develop, man, because he's blocking his butt off out there, which you guys saw in that clip a minute ago when we were still talking about Tate. He does that every snap. He blocks like his, he lives by that old adage, no block, no rock, man. So, and it makes sense because it's the culture that the Lions have, because you think about that whole room blocks their butts off. Saint, who's an all-pro. Jameson loves blocking, obviously. He just likes to hit. Khalif, you name it. So really exciting developments from TeSlaa. And I don't know if we'll see him again, to your point earlier in the preseason, but I would like if we heard some good things about him here in these joint practices with Miami. That'd be pretty dope.
Yeah, I feel like that's where things should be trending, right? Like you've had 2 preseason games to get a look at him. First preseason game, you got to see him run a lot of crossing routes, do some yards after catch type of stuff. In the second preseason game, you're seeing him create early separation. You're seeing him go up over guys. I don't know how much more else there is to see, unless you just want to continue to get him more work and get him more comfortable playing the X. Then sure, but even then, I think Morgan, like at that point, like, let's start to tailor down the snap count a little bit. I think like the same thing with Tate. I think you can get a lot of good work between Miami and Houston in the next couple joint practices to where he can go up against some really good defensive lines, some really good defenses. And that way you don't have to continue to expose these young guys to unnecessary risk. But at the same time, I do understand that there is still development that has to be done. And there still is evaluation that has to be done with both of those guys. But I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if Dan starts to tailor, their availability back in some of these preseason games.
Yeah, especially if he starts to, like, I wonder when he starts to take some of those first team reps. Not all of them, because that's not the way this coaching staff rolls. They're going to give Tim Patrick his due. He earned it last year. But I do wonder at what point you start to see what it looks like with TeSlaa at the X. If he's, we don't know how much he is or is not digesting like in the classroom right now, right? Because he's going from Arkansas, that offense they ran, we were talking about it earlier with Tate, to what the Lions are doing under Johnny Moe with this offense that's been built, under Dan Campbell and Ben Johnson. It's a whole different beast, man. So I guess we'll have to see how that is working out. And if it's working out well, I expect him to start seeing some of those first team reps at the X.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so let's switch gears and switch over to the defense now and take a look at the Lions' first round pick as well as their 6th round pick in Tyreek Williams as well as Ahmed Hassan. And we're going to start with Tyreek. Bro, when I tell you I was so excited to see Tyreek, and not because I thought I was going to see like a ton of pass rush or a ton of, sacks or anything like that. I just wanted to see like how he was going to hold up against, NFL quality like linemen. Like, again, were we going to see that same stoutness? Were we going to see that same strength that made him such a good run stuffer? And we saw that and then some, right?
Yeah, man. Honestly, it looked like he was back in Columbus. What he was doing to some of these, these guards and tackles. So, yeah. To be fair, everyone's gonna be like, yeah, the pass rush isn't there. No, it's not there right now. He doesn't really have a plan. He's just kind of run. He's going to try to bull you and go from there. But that's going to come. But what we do have right now is somebody who can. You're not going to block with one man. He could wreck your play in that regard. Like, he can get in the backfield, and disrupt TFLs, just bounce things outside. But often you're going to have to devote two to blocking him. And it just doesn't really work, just like it didn't at Ohio State when people try to do it. So you're going to see them try to wash him down the line of scrimmage. And he does, people are going to be like, oh, he's moving. Well, yeah, you're going to move, especially parallel like that. But see how the center is still attached to him? That makes it easy. That's what your linebackers are doing right there. They're strafing, right? They're keeping their chest to the line of scrimmage square, and they're going to go and fill, right? And so that's textbook to me. And that's what this defense is predicated on. You're going to have guys like Tyreek and DJ Reader, eating up space, eating up blocks. So Jack Campbell, Derek Barnes, Anzalone, all those guys can get downhill and make plays.
Yeah. And like you said, he does a good job of continuing to keep things washed down here. So at least in this situation, like 41 can't take the gap furthest to his right? Like, he has to cut this back and try to go up the middle. But because you have two guys that are being occupied here and no one's able to get up to Zach Cunningham, it makes it for an easy one-on-one block in the middle of that gap.
Yep. Easy to come downhill. Phil and whoever, I think that was Nowoski too. Grant Stewart did a good job, to your point, like that C gap they were looking at. 84 gets a hat on him, but Stewart's there. Mm-hmm. So to your point, he's not going to be able to bounce it out. So yeah, it's good stuff, man. Cause that's what we're looking for, because you got to think of it this way, folks. These first and second down defensive lines, I could see it being a Hutchinson, Tyreek Williams, DJ Reader, Marcus Davenport. And that's going to be a tough front to run against. Okay. That's just to put it lightly.
I was going to say, like, the stat sheet for Tyreek Williams may not be the most impressive in his rookie season, right? But if you get him more, if you are able to get this defense into more 3rd and long situations, and that gives you more opportunities to deploy an Aiden Hutchinson and to deploy a Marcus Davenport in the pass rushing game, Tyreek Williams is doing his job in that case, right? It may not be super flashy. It may not look like the second coming of Aaron Donald or anything like that, but you can still get quality D-line play, especially in the interim and while you're waiting for Aleem to come back. And then imagine what that rotation looks like when you have Aleem McNeil, when you have DJ Reader, and you have Tyreek Williams all in the middle of that defense, and the types of mismatches that you can create just with your defensive line alone.
Yeah, and we didn't even mention Roy Lopez, so they got bodies in there that can just. It's going to be tough to run against the Lions. If you guys follow me on Twitter, you saw that I tweeted that out. And that's a great point, Miko. To be honest, the thing to expect from Tyreek is probably like, remember how Aleem was early in the process, right? Back in his early years, like he was just a really good run defender. There wasn't a lot of pass rushing chops, but it's not like he wasn't trying. So that's kind of what I'm going to expect. Like, it could flash here and there, and I think it's going to develop under Casey Rogers. But what I'm seeing right here is somebody who can play the 3 or the 1 technique and be counted on to like give the Lions a lot of reps or a lot of snaps if they need it. You know what I mean? Depending on the week and depending on the matchup. So I love it
Yeah.
because you get to those third down, man. You earn your right to rush the passer. And I think that's how this defense is going to be under Kelvin Shepherd.
Yeah. I know you love this next play here as well, just because, again, we talked about him kind of showcasing some of the same skill set that he had while he was at Ohio State. But I think this even shows a little bit of veteran savviness in terms of how to properly take on a double team block that I think like not many people think of, right? I think people typically can sometimes have this wide view of like, well, if a defensive lineman goes to a knee or if a defensive lineman hits the ground, they've clearly lost that rep. But there's more that goes into it, right, Morgan?
Yeah, man. And I've seen some people like, yeah, that's just not, this is what it's coached, right? Like OG, like nose tackles and defensive tackles will do this kind of thing. They'll drop to a knee. You see DJ Reader do it a lot. That man's one of the best in football doing it because you're tough to move at that point. He does a great job here. So he's down to a knee. He's got his shoulders parallel. He's trying to get skinny, right? To be honest, there's probably a little bit of defensive holding. He probably does have a hold of 68 because he doesn't want him to climb, but that's the game, right? You know, that's the game within the game. So yeah, I love everything about that rep because as you see, another chance for Zach Cunningham to get downhill, and he kind of smokes that cat, to be honest with you.
And very similar to like what we were talking about with the offense when we were talking about Isaac TeSlaa. Like you imagine this is DJ Reader, or this is Tyreek Williams in this situation, but behind you, you have a Jack Campbell, you have an Alex Anzalone, you have a Brian Branch, and they're able to fill these types of gaps. Like you're talking about some big time collisions and some big time opportunities for your defense to put the offense behind the sticks and get you that much closer to a 3rd and long situation.
Yep. And that's what you like. I'm trying to imagine this rep, if that's not Chris Smith over there at the other 3 tech or at the, excuse me, I think that was at the nose technically. But yeah, imagine that's DJ Reader and there's really nowhere to run because you got 2 guys just eating double teams, and it just makes life easier on your linebackers, and especially in this system with the way Kelvin Shepherd and Aaron Glenn before him, ran things, right?
Yeah. It also makes you wonder, like, do you guys have our opposing offensive lines going to have enough bodies to double team everybody, right? Because if you're trying to double team DJ Reader, you're trying to throw a double team at Tyreek Williams, that means you're giving Aiden Hutchinson like a one-on-one block, even in the run game, Morgan. Like that's not the best of ideas. You want to give Marcus Davenport a one-on-one block in the run game, like you better hope that you can get enough push up the middle, because if you try and bounce those to the outside, like you have 2 guys on the outside plus again guys at that second level when you talk about your linebackers, and even to the 3rd level you talk about some of these safeties that will come down and crash on these run plays and still put you behind the sticks just because you have guys that can do a really good job of occupying space in the middle.
Yeah, and I love that you made that point too, because both Hutchinson and Davenport are firmly in the category of you do not block me with tight ends unless you're the kid from Pittsburgh that's like a tackle, really, with Darnell Washington.
Yeah, that is.
But other than that, you're going to get thrown out of the club, and it's going to be a loss of yards for that running play. This is a funny rep. It's just kind of discombobulated from the Atlanta perspective. They don't get off the ball at the same time, but Tyreek's like, hey, I'm just going to go ahead and step around you, a little swim move, and he doesn't make the play. And I think the next step in his development, once he becomes like a little more, he goes through his little like Pokemon evolution, like Aleem has done a couple times. I think he makes this play, and it's a big time stop for the defense. But either way, this is really disruptive, right, Miko? Because now 41's jump cutting for his life, and then he ends up getting tackled anyway.
Again, it's another thing that defensive line play can give you, right? It's not just tackles for loss, it's not just sacks or things of that nature. Being able to get a running back or a quarterback or anything like that to change their mind, essentially, Morgan. Like he wants to do one thing, I'm going to make you have to second guess, make you have to make a move. And in most situations, unless you're, someone of the ilk of like a Jahmyr Gibbs, like that's going to cause you to slow down your momentum. And that's going to give the rest of your defense an opportunity to come and rally and make the play that maybe you did miss this tackle here, but hey, guess what? 64 is right there to clean this up. I believe that's Keith Cooper.
Yeah.
Keith
Cooper. Yeah. And That's exactly to your point, Miko. That's why coaches yell all day, every day, run to the football, run to the football. You hear it 8 zillion times. If you're a defensive player at any level, they're going to tell you to run to the football. And that's why, to Miko's point, because if someone misses a tackle, you're there to make the play. Similar to, so Ahmed Hassanin, man, another good
I was going to
performance.
say, someone who probably doesn't, you don't have to tell to run to the football,
No,
right?
you don't. No, you do not. That's like, it might be seared into his brain because he does not lack for effort, plays with his hair completely on fire. And things will slow down for him with more reps, in my opinion, just seeing things live. Because you think he's seeing a lot of these things for the first time. It's not like Boise State's playing, the SEC all the time. So, yeah, this is a good one because he's not going to make the play, but man, or he's not going to make the initial play. No, sorry, this is the pass rush first. I'll pivot. I'll go back to that. All right, so the first rep, just a really good pass rush, right? Nate Lynn ends up getting the sack, but I got to give Ahmed props for running the hoop right here, right, Miko?
Yeah, I think this shows while he may still need to develop his pass rush moves, like one thing that you can definitely count on with Hassanin is his strength and athleticism, right? And I think if he's able to catch, if he's able to get on the field, he can possibly catch a couple tackles off guard with just that combination of size, speed, and strength, and be able to push the pocket in certain situations like this. And if you're talking about having Marcus Davenport or Aiden Hutchinson on the back end of this, like similar results.
Yeah, and this is a good example too. When you hear defensive people talk about converting speed to power, this is a good example from Ahmed. So he's threatening to run that hoop and just dip and beat that outside shoulder of the tackle, but then he also puts those hands in his chest and jolts him backwards quite a bit. So damn near to where he's in the lap of whoever this is getting sacked here, 15. So yeah, it was a good rep and something I was excited to see because we see him making plays against the run. We see him running around and, making plays on the back end, chasing down a play, but seeing him, win some rushes consistently will be a good sign, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I believe this one is the play where, he just kind of like that ability to just get into the backfield and be able to make plays in the run game kind of speaks to what you were just talking about.
Yeah, and it's smart. It's how you can tell he's starting to really learn a little bit. So you follow the pullers, right? You see all these guys working down the line of scrimmage. Does a good job of staying flat at first, but then once he sees the running back, gets the ball. So, and a good rep from Broderick Martin, man, because he helps make this play for Ahmed because the running back has to slow down and Ahmed's running down the line of scrimmage 1,000 miles an hour.
Yeah, one thing that even in the Hall of Fame game that I saw from Ahmed that really had me impressed is like how disciplined he is with his eyes in situations like this. We talked about it on the Pride of Detroit POD cast, but like sometimes when you talk about guys that are high motor, that are high energy type of players, you sometimes have to caveat with like they're probably going to play a little out of control. Ahmed had a few more snaps maybe in this one where he maybe wasn't the most controlled, but overall, Morgan, I've been really impressed with his ability to play with his hair on fire, but still understand his assignments and still execute his assignments.
Yeah, he's been playing clean. There's a couple instances, like you said, he'll get knocked off his feet a couple times, but he gets up quick. It's not like he's, lollygagging down there. So, yeah, a good play because this is what you want to see. If Tyreek makes this play here in September, you want to be able to come down the line of scrimmage and get you a TFL in a game that matters, man, because then you can really get crazy. I just love how excited he is. Have you heard like he yells before each down? He lets out this guttural yell apparently.
That's just awesome.
My man, this man's crazy. This is a beautiful rep too because not going to make the initial play, but he's going to run it down. And this is just effort, right, Miko?
Yeah, and I think this is one of the things that got him drafted is this type of mentality, this type of I'm not giving up on the play. I'm going to go make a play no matter how far down the field it is. And I love this from him. I love this from him, and it's one of those things where if he's able to be on the active game day roster, I would feel very comfortable about him being a rotational player.
Me too. And to your point, he realizes pretty quickly, right? Because you see some of these veterans, some of these younger guys wow, why did I get in the backfield so easily? Oh, it's a screen. And that happened for him pretty quickly because he flipped his hips, started running, and makes a good tackle here. And I'm pretty sure he got a bunch of the rubber pellets up in his mouth from the way he watched kind of how he spins around. my gosh. So he probably got
Yeah.
like a big old wave of them things. But yeah, you see this pop a lot on tape because, like you talked about at the top when we started talking about Ahmed, he's always going to run to the football.
Yeah, and that's something that you want out of your defensive linemen, right? Like you don't want them just getting upfield, getting into the backfield, and then losing contain or losing awareness of what's happening. And this play right there was another great example of like the type of athlete that he is. The fact that he can make that type of recognition and quickly be able to put his foot in the ground, get back upfield, and make a tackle like that. Those are the types of things that are going to endear you to a coaching staff. And it's this Atlanta game, Morgan, while obviously it ended much earlier than anyone would have liked to see under the circumstances that occurred in that game. It's been a while since we've seen a rookie class like kind of like possibly have a role in this team, right? Obviously the 2024 class, I'm not saying that this class is better than that class, but the 2024 class, like we knew Terrion was going to play. We knew Terrion absolutely was going to have a role. Everyone else was either a wild card or something that we were going to have to wait to see them develop or things of that nature. This is one of those classes where these four guys alone, maybe the first three more than Ahmed, but the first three for sure, you're just like, these guys are going to have an impact, and it gets you really excited for what they could accomplish once the regular season starts.
Yeah, and it's kind of the crux of having an elite roster like the Lions have now, right? Because they do have guys that they're going to have they've paid, they're going to have to pay, and in order to keep things rolling, you got to have drafts like Brad had in 2021 to 2024. If you really want to count all of them, because he's got gems all over the place. Hopefully, we get another 4 or 5 here in this class and for the 2025 class, and we'll still be going, man. I want, like we've always talked about, if you're familiar with this channel, Miko and I kind of both share the same sentiment. We want the Lions to be the Ravens of the NFC. Just, that whole time they were steered by the best GM ever, in my opinion, Ozzie Newsome. It's just, they've been competitive every single year. They've won a couple Super Bowls. So in my opinion, that's the best way to do things.
Yeah, you want to be able to continue to replenish your roster, right? And not always have to go to free agency to do it, but also be able to literally have homegrown talent that you can keep and retain, or maybe you flip them for draft assets down the line, whatever the case may be. And the Lions seem to be on that track. This draft class does have me very excited. It is a bummer that Dominic Lovett was injured, because if you go back to that Hall of Fame game, he himself was even making plays, showed some areas where he needed to improve as well. I'm really excited, Morgan, about what this draft class could potentially do. And hopefully this isn't the last time that we do a film study of any of these players, right? Hopefully we can do more film breakdowns, maybe week 1 breakdowns of these guys, and see how they performed in their first NFL action, or have moments where they really stand out and shine, and bring this back to the audience and really break down those performances as well.
Yeah, bro. I love that. Hopefully we're not talking about Tate, TeSlaa, or Tyreek until after a week 1 dub in Green Bay. Do you hear me?
That's all I'm asking for at this point right now, man. So pretty much, guys, that's going to do it for us over here on the Pride of Detroit YouTube channel. If you want to stay locked into any more additional Lions content, you can always go check out prideofdetroit.com. We have a brand new revamped website over there, so definitely go check that out. It's so much better. All right.
It is.
I don't even know how to describe it. It's so much better. The ads, if the ads used to bother you, they won't anymore. Like, I can just kind of say that you can get them out of your site and have a much easier time reading the articles that are written over there. If you are, again, looking for even more additional Lions content, you can always check out Pride of Detroit Direct. That's a paid subscription that we have over here at prideofdetroit.com. You pay $50 for the entire year, and that gets you bonus written content as well as bonus video content. Specifically, that is really good for this time of year during training camp, where you can see Eric and Jeremy kind of do their post training camp breakdowns, and they give you all this insight of everything that took place at training camp. And we even have like a couple guest writers inside of Pride of Detroit Direct. So it's a lot of really good stuff there. Again, $50 for the entire year. It's well worth the money in that case. Also, if you didn't know, Pride of Detroit also has a podcast. I'm sure most of you know this, but in case you don't know, we do have a podcast. You can find that over on Apple Podcasts, as well as Spotify as well, and maybe anywhere else that podcasts are probably listened to. I'm not sure. I know they're definitely in those 2 places.
Yeah.
If you want to check those out, definitely go do that as well. But with all that said, I'm Miko. He's Morgan. Thank you guys for taking the time to watch, and we'll see you guys in the next one.